Episode. This is what, 15?
Yep.
15.
Yes.
Okay, we're making it really far.
Yes, bro.
All right, episode 15, which is 6 episodes away from episode 21.
Remember episode 1?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, in episode 1, I'll tell you guys this now, but back when we were recording it, we cut out all of this, but there were so many long pauses, and we just try to keep the conversation going somehow. Yeah. And it was a 20-minute conversation too.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Motivation versus discipline.
Yeah. I still think content-wise, it's a pretty good episode though.
Yeah. I agree.
Can't fault us on that one.
Yeah.
Is that David Goggins' book?
Oh yeah. We just kept. Yeah.
No, there was times when you just stopped talking and I didn't know what to say. You just kept doing this. So I was like, what am I supposed to say?
Bro, because I didn't read the book.
Yeah, I know, but then I talked about motivation, and then you said something like, "Yeah, we need motivation." And I said, "Yeah, we need motivation."
No, I didn't,
something,
bro.
something.
There's no way.
Yeah, you did. I remember editing this. I watched this video so many times. I listened to it. I listened to it once on a walk with Narayan too.
All right.
Yeah, but hard times.
long way we've come.
Yeah, true.
15
episodes. And imagine when we look back on episode 15 saying we were thinking that we came a long way.
Yeah.
And then
episode 30.
Yeah. Or episode 21.
Yeah.
We'll bring Zayn Mir back as a guest.
Yep. That was the longest podcast we ever had.
Yeah, no, it's 3 hours long, bro. We had to cut down so much of it too.
Yeah.
It'd censor some parts.
Some parts, yeah.
You know what? If we get 15 likes on this, when we drop the second one, we'll make it uncensored. We won't cut out anything at all.
Okay. Yeah, Zayn said some out of pocket things.
Yeah, well, it's not me.
Yeah, I guess. No, we can't do Zayn like that.
Yeah, sure. He's the first guest that got it going. If Zayn wants us to explicitly remove something,
we'll do it.
Then we'll do it.
Put out bloopers. Yeah. Put at the end of that.
You know Jocko does that?
Yeah.
Jocko podcast.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Welcome back to Jocko Podcast.
Yeah, no.
Number 1.
He's crazy.
Should we record in black and white?
No way. I think that's just the next level. It's the next level of hard.
Yeah.
We can do that once we climb Everest.
We have a plan to climb Mount Everest for the viewers that are not aware of this plan between us.
That was so robotic.
Yeah. That was so robotic. I literally said that like a robot. Let me do that again. We have a plan to climb Mount Everest.
So bad.
And we're going to do it. Right, Nothing can stop us.
Great. Okay, now we pivot.
Pivot to what?
That's a good. Be like.
I know about Chechen.
Wow.
I know about Chechen.
Yeah.
Zawagi.
You don't know much about it. You just know that they're the hardest people.
I know about some wartime strategies
that Chechnya used.
No,
I just know that it's not controlled by Russia, is it?
Russia
Russia annexed their territory.
No. Russia utilizes Chechen soldiers for their wars, but basically the Chechens, they don't abide by Russia's rules. So they just, while they're there, they take videos and stuff while they're there, like that. You know all the videos that we saw of the Ukraine war. Those are usually taken by Chechen soldiers because they don't have to abide by the same rules as Russian soldiers. Russian soldiers have specific rules like. Specific rules such as you can't record while you're in combat, or you can't go on your phone while in combat. But basically, Russia doesn't control Chechens the way they do. They control Russian soldiers. They're almost asking for their help. They're paid, yeah, but they wouldn't. They won't abide by the same rules as Russian soldiers. So they would record and just other things. They just break a lot of rules. But they use them because they're so well military trained.
They're the hardest people.
Yeah.
In the world,
they're I don't know. They're
at least in Eastern Europe.
They're trained to withstand a lot of hard things just because of the environment.
The mountains.
Yeah. Have you seen pictures of these soldiers, bro? They're just massive, bro. They have these huge beards.
Yeah, I mean the only guy that I know.
They're Muslim, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Or at least Hamza is.
I think they're majority Muslim.
He said, Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, they're majority Muslim.
Chechen soldiers. Okay, cool. I think you might have showed me a picture of Chechen soldiers once. Yeah. Chechen. It's not Chechenian.
Yeah,
it's Chechen soldiers.
Yeah.
Soldiers. Yeah, I see them. Their beards.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look cool.
Yeah.
Ramzan Kadyrov.
I think they can easily wield bigger guns because of how much they weigh or how big they are.
Chechen fighters. You know, You know, Hamza, he gave up his Swedish citizenship or something. He renounced it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe he's super loyal to his country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they're recent off a war, according to what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's built into their culture.
You said they're recent of what?
Of war.
Yeah, because the Ukraine war.
No, there's the Second Chechen War. The Second Chechen War.
I know they were used by Russia in the Ukraine war.
Yeah, it ended in 2009.
Oh, probably between Russia and Chechnya.
It is between the Russian Federation and the Chechen Republic of Ichkeria.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Oh, Islamist fighters from Chechnya infiltrated Russia's Dagestan region. So it's between Dagestan and Chechnya.
Oh, okay. A lot of UFC fighters are also from Dagestan, right?
A lot of who
UFC fighters.
Oh, UFC fighters? A lot. But it's all in one training camp. It's Khabib came over, and then Islam is Khabib's. He's his friend. They trained together from when they were kids.
Oh.
And once Khabib left, then Islam came in, and he just took over.
Are they originally Dagestani?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then his father, Khabib's father, first had the camp, so that's why he was the best fighter there, and they had him like run through the UFC first.
Oh.
And then after he retired because his dad died.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said his dad was training him his whole life, and he says there's literally no point in doing it if my dad isn't watching.
Mm-hmm.
So he retired, and then Islam came in, and Khabib trained Islam for a long time, and he came in, and then he kind of took over the same division, but then there's other like Khabib's little brother fights in another MMA thing called Bellator, which it's like the UFC, but it's a little bit different. It's another fighting organization.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that like the UFC doesn't have monopoly over any MMA events.
Yeah.
It's the most popular one right now. But there's another one called One.
Oh,
which is I don't remember
new?
how it's different. It's not that new.
Oh.
It's pretty new though.
Yeah.
Newer
than
UFC. Yeah. UFC is at least in terms of West, because Bruce Lee did MMA.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a bunch of other guys over there in the East, all the Thai fighters, all those guys, they did combat sports.
Mm-hmm.
And combat sports where they mix together a bunch of different styles.
Okay.
But Dana White brought it over to the West.
Oh.
You know who Dana White is, right?
Yeah, you told me about him.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's inside of the UFC.
Yeah, he's the president of the UFC.
Yeah.
But he brought it over, and he made it a thing here. And yeah, and then I mean maybe that kind of makes sense. I mean it's the East Asian guys that were super into it, but the Russian style called Russian Sambo, it's kind of so jiu-jitsu is when you're on the ground like this, and you use your ground techniques while you're on the ground to submit your opponent,
mm-hmm.
either by choking them or by taking out their arms, or in some cases taking out their legs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And wrestling is when you're standing and it's called takedowns and takedown defense. You're trying to put your opponent to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So the three stages that I like to think of fighting as, it's striking, wrestling, and then ground stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the striking is punches, kicks, elbows, knees, and all that stuff. You can even strike with the head if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And like headbutt them.
Yeah.
But then wrestling is when you're trying to you're in a standing position and you're trying to put your opponent to the ground. And jiu-jitsu and there's other ground stuff, but jiu-jitsu is the most common one in the West.
You start on the ground?
You start on the ground.
You want to be low when you start.
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu doesn't have takedowns.
Oh, yeah.
You're already on the ground.
You're already on the ground.
Yeah. It's a ground thing.
Mm-hmm.
And people say that it's useful in actual fights because you go on the ground a lot.
Yeah.
And Brazilian people are, other than Russian people, they're some of the best.
Uh-huh.
A lot of champions were Brazilian.
Yeah.
In almost every division, there was at least a Brazilian champion.
Yeah.
You probably heard of some of them too, like Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
People like that.
I wonder how hard it was for the UFC guy or Dana White to popularize it in the West, because at that time everyone was watching WWE, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was huge, WWE back then.
The thing is, some people fought in both the WWE and the UFC,
mm-hmm.
which it actually turned out to be a good thing because it gave recognition to the UFC as well. Because the
Oh.
WWE it's a fake thing. It's not actual wrestling.
It's not actual wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, but
it's for show, right?
Yeah, it's for show.
For entertainment.
But the UFC, so you know Brock Lesnar?
No.
Brock Lesnar is this huge dude. He's absolutely massive. He weighs so much.
He's a WWE guy?
Yeah, he was a WWE guy. I think he started in the UFC and then went to WWE. You know Ronda Rousey?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ronda Rousey, she also started in the UFC and then went to the WWE after her UFC career was done.
Oh.
So people like that, I think, kind of bridge the gap. Some people...
They left UFC to go to WWE?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They started in UFC and then they left because the paycheck is bigger.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then...
But WWE wasn't actual fighting.
It's not actual fighting, yeah. But then they saw... Or people started watching both, I think.
Mm-hmm. Why? That's my question. Why did people... If
WWE... A lot of these WWE guys are coming out of the UFC. And the UFC is actually real. I feel like the real thing is a lot...
So you think the culture of watchers, they themselves realized that it's not real fighting?
No, I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of hype around the storylines and stuff. With the actual combat, it's just not even if you look at it, it's so obvious that it's fake.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just crazy how an entire culture shifted because it was so popular, WWE. So there's no way all of those people were just amateur watchers and they decided to watch the UFC. Because anyone who actually knew fighting, would there be a reason for them to watch the WWE? Or why would they, I guess? Because they're into actual fighting. So the way I'm thinking about it is there's all these amateur viewers and they're watching the WWE and then they get into real fighting?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to look at what's happening. It's only talking about... Oh, hang on. I just found this article that says why the WWE needs to worry about the UFC. When was this made?
That's interesting. Because the UFC is way bigger now.
Yeah. He said John Jones is one of the thing. Yeah, there's no way, because John Jones...
What year?
Yeah, this was when John Jones was 24 years old. He became the champion at 23 years old back in like 2011.
Oh, okay.
So this is... Yeah.
It's way back then.
This is when it was getting taken over.
Yeah.
But often, a lot of the UFC fighters, they don't even like Dana White. Because he always calls them up for contracts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, what the hell, man? But they can all admit that he's one of the best promoters ever.
Yeah.
He somehow did something where it just got promoted so much that everyone just started tuning into it.
He's a crazy businessman.
Yeah.
Marketing.
And they're saying that the competition in WWE got worse and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is what this article that was made in October 2nd, 2011. That's what this article is saying.
Yeah.
WWE's competition is going away. UFC competition is going up because John Jones was a thing, and then GSP was a thing then too. Anderson Silva was on his hot streak. All those fighters are going crazy.
Yeah.
Then that's the beginning era. Yeah. And then it's saying WrestleMania is losing its appeal. John Jones.
This guy, that's so crazy that we're sitting here reading this article that this guy wrote in 2011 about how the WWE is falling off, and now it's just completely falling off.
Yep.
I wonder about the global impacts of it though, because I remember when I went to India in 2008, which is forever ago. Or no, not 2008, 2011 or 12. It was 2011 or 12. WWE was huge there. All the guys my age in the neighborhood were all watching WWE. They were all tuning in for WWE. So I wonder.
My mom told me that when I was really young or whatever, my cousins who are 10 to 15 years older than me, she said that they were watching WWE all the time.
Yeah.
Back when she used to be in India and when she visited and stuff. Okay, the other thing I'm looking at here, their marketing was just bad.
Oh.
That's the main thing that I'm looking at. It's saying that these guys in the UFC, they don't fight regularly. They fight once in a while, and whenever they fight, there's a huge drawing. It's saying that right now, when this article was written, John Cena was the champion of the WWE, and he has to defend his title almost every single event.
Oh yeah, it's just that's bad marketing.
Yeah, you're looking at some guy like John Jones. He's fought twice, and he's gonna by the end of this year, he'll have fought twice only twice this year.
Yeah.
Out of 12 UFC events.
Yeah.
And someone like Islam or.
So there's just more build up around the events. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and is it more international? I feel like I've heard of the most famous WWE people I've heard are mainly English, like John Cena and The Rock.
It's American, but I think a lot of people just watched it or tuned into it globally.
But even if you're looking at the UFC, there's American guys, there's British guys. Conor McGregor.
There's more people.
There's more people, and all the Russian guys.
Yeah, I wonder if UFC is big in India then right now.
Probably not.
You don't think so?
Mm.
Is it real? Has it reached the point that WWE ever reached
What, the UFC?
in terms of popularity? Yeah,
Global popularity? I'm not sure.
but in terms of just America,
I feel like, yeah, but I don't know. I don't have a fair perspective on this because I was a kid. I was really young
yeah,
when
that's
the
fair.
UFC was super or when the WWE was super popular.
Yeah,
But I guess it's all Dana. I think the marketing has just taken over.
yeah, and they pay the people by how much money they pull in, right? Not by how much they win.
Who?
UFC.
They pay people. It depends on how popular the fighter is. So it's how much money they pull in.
Oh,
That's what they pay.
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So if some guy wasn't as popular, then he'd just get paid less.
Yeah, even
And
if
they
he
put-
was a bet.
If they put on a really good performance and they get paid bonuses.
I think that's a really smart move for the UFC because it optimizes their profit because think about it in the if you have a very unentertaining player, or it's an incentive for entertaining people to get in even if they're not the best fighters, whereas if you don't have that system, most of the money is going towards people who are not bringing in that much money. So I think that's a really smart financial move for the UFC.
Yeah, true.
I've never heard of it before either. I feel like it might be proprietary.
Yeah, and people, like as you're saying, people are just trying more to get better paychecks.
Yeah. So maybe that's how they made up for the entertainment part of it, because they know the UFC won't be as entertaining as the WWE just because of the combat style.
Yeah, but I think they care about the entertainment too, because at least they don't want to make it super boring.
Exactly. So I think they knew, there's not going to be people getting chairs and slamming it on people.
Yeah.
But they knew the way to make up for that was this might have been the way to pull in more entertaining people into the yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the highest paid UFC guys, or the highest pay-per-views, they're typically not the best guys.
Yeah.
I mean, John Jones is the GOAT, and I think he's the highest pay-per-view right now. But Conor McGregor exists.
Yeah.
And he's not amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess to be fair, when Conor McGregor was at the peak of his popularity, he was insane. He was super good. He was killing everybody. So,
I mean, I would also rescind my statement, but not that their UFC is pulling in more entertaining people, but I think they're making the best fighters more entertaining.
you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, when Sean Strickland beat Izzy Adesanya, a lot of people were saying that Dana was mad because Izzy's this wild market. He's a marketable guy. To be fair, I think Sean Strickland is a marketable guy too.
Yeah, he is.
They're trying to get marketable guys as the face of the UFC.
They're not getting.
That's what people are saying. I'd say it's way more fair than the WWE.
Okay.
But also, there's this guy named Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
Who was the bantamweight champion.
Yeah.
And the fight was set up for him against a much better opponent, and he somehow beat that better opponent. And then the second fight that he had as champion, he beat that opponent as well. And that opponent is one of the best bantamweights of all time, and he somehow beat him. But then Dana White, he didn't let him have a proper recovery, or that's what he says. But he fought in UFC 290, I think, and then he fought in 292 as well, which is 2 months apart or 3 months apart or something.
Yeah.
He fought very close, 2 very close fights.
Yeah.
And he's saying that the reason that happened is because Dana wanted him to fight again, because he didn't want him as champion, because he wanted a more marketable face for the bantamweight.
Oh.
But also, I don't know about that, because there's this guy named GSP. He's also one of the best of all time. And he was saying that you're not ever forced to sign a contract that Dana sends you. No matter what kind of pressure that he puts on you, you can always say no. You can say no to a fight and just wait later.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how that plays out.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure GSP was a pretty marketable guy too.
Yeah.
So maybe they gave him more lenience here and there.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on that?
I guess, the issue would be if you're not getting, because so many people watch the UFC, so many aspiring fighters watch the UFC, and then the issue is if you're not having the best fighters there and you're sacrificing the best fighting for better entertainment value, then that's really damaging to fighting culture.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, the reason this is it's switching back to what we were talking about earlier, but the reason why Russian people, and especially those two areas, are so dominant is because they train in Russian Sambo. which the reason I brought up striking wrestling and striking wrestling and ground stuff is because Russian combat Sambo especially, it's a trend. It kind of groups the two things together. It groups together wrestling and ground stuff.
Oh, okay.
So Russian Sambo going against a Brazilian guy on their feet, it's the Russian guy has the very clear advantage.
Oh.
If the Brazilian guy is mainly trained jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Or any guy in the West is mainly trained jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
The Sambo gives them gives them an advantage on their feet, but then it doesn't give them the advantage in ground stuff, but the creativity, you can have more creativity with it. You can do better submissions, or not better submissions, but you can try to do submissions on the feet, maybe, and different positions as well as the jiu-jitsu ones, the basic jiu-jitsu positions, and some of the ones on the feet as well. It's a little bit different, and I think that's why they're so popular.
Yeah.
Or they're not popular,
why they're so dominant.
They're so dominant. Yeah, that's the word.
Because they're trained in that style.
Yeah, and if you're looking at Combat Sambo's performance in other grappling tournaments, not just MMA, but in pure grappling tournaments, where it's just wrestling and ground stuff and no striking at all.
Oh.
Sambo somehow connects striking to grappling in a way that.
But there's no striking in Sambo, right?
I don't think so. But they use some strikes as feints, or they use striking as some distraction to set up a takedown.
Oh.
And it's different because they know, like, the fluidity of the movement. It's different because it's not you're not switching from one style to the other. It's the same style the entire time. All the wrestling and the ground stuff is in the same style. Versus if you're doing wrestling, for example, judo. If you're doing judo, it's a Japanese wrestling, because this is the Western MMA thing. They usually do Muay Thai, and then they do judo, and then they do BJJ. Those are the three things. But judo and BJJ are fundamentally different styles.
Oh.
So the reason I think Russian people are so dominant is they somehow combine some unorthodox striking,
almost in the most optimal way.
Yeah. To set up something where it's the same style. The grappling is all the same style.
Yeah.
So their feet are just as effective. Versus if you're trying to fight a Brazilian guy. If you look at the most recent fight between Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, there's literally a portion of the fight where Oliveira is on his back, and he's inviting him to come down, because he knows he's dominant on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Sambo, you can kind of maneuver that into however or whichever way you want.
Yeah.
And I think that gives them more of an advantage. But in pure grappling tournaments, they usually say Sambo doesn't perform that well. There's this guy named Gordon Ryan, who's the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world right now. And he's also the best jiu-jitsu guy of all time, apparently. Which is, it's kind of crazy because, it's like kind of off topic, but I'll get back. It's kind of crazy because this Gordon Ryan guy, he became the GOAT when he was 24. You want to see what a picture of what he looks like?
Sure. Why is he, or what? What is he? What's so surprising about what he looked like?
No, you'll see.
Alright.
How old do you think this guy is?
Yeah.
How old do you think he is?
I would put him at 50 or 60.
He's 28.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. Not 60, maybe 40s, 50s, yeah.
He has white hair. Why does he have white hair?
He dyed it white?
I don't know. He just looks so odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, they say he's the best of all time. And he said Combat Sambo is not that effective in grappling specifically. He said it's super effective in MMA in general, but it's not that effective in grappling specifically. All right, we took a quick recess, and I think we're going to do a hard transition to pivot into the second topic.
Yeah, because we started talking about this just because we saw a YouTube short about it. So, but we were starting to have a good conversation, so we're just going to continue it. So, basically the short we saw was about a guy explaining that, it was Chris Williamson, and he's explaining that women want to be loved and adored or something, and then he said
men want respect.
Yeah, or they want to feel powerful and capable. And I said that I don't think I would agree with that. I said I just don't think men and women are, I mean, they're different, but I don't think they're that different to the point where what do you call it? Mental needs, social, emotional needs? I don't know.
Yeah. But I don't... Oh, shit.
I just don't think
My bad.
they're that different to the point where their needs are completely different.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've seen that there was some I don't know if it was a study or something, but something was conducted on comatose war veterans. I think it was a study, but I don't know by who. So this is off the top of my head.
Okay.
But there was something conducted with war veterans, where comatose war veterans, where they told them, instead of telling them like wake up, get up, we need you or something like that, they kept saying, there's a fire here, like get up and do it, or get up and help us fix this fire, or something like that. I forget the exact specifics. I had this study a long time ago, but they apparently that study rose more comatose war veterans than any other words, like those words, telling them that they had some sort of purpose.
Yeah, but that might apply to everyone. That I don't see why that would specifically apply to men.
I think it's because the way our hormones are developed, or the way that our brain develops, I think is a different thing. Because I know the menstrual cycle in women has a lot of effects on their brain.
As in what?
I'm not sure.
Such as what?
I'm not sure.
You just saw somewhere that it
that
it does.
I saw in Huberman.
On the development of their brain?
On the development of their brain, yeah. During puberty, but also after. I think the way that they think is a little bit different. The cognitive patterns, whatever it may be.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because also the neuromodulators that they have are a little bit different as well. Because we have a lot higher testosterone.
Mm-hmm. But how would testosterone affect... Testosterone is...
It's drive. Testosterone directly correlates with our drive to do anything.
Yeah. I remember that. Oh, okay.
But that's why I think that they do have different, whatever, social needs or emotional needs.
But you think it's an evolutionary thing? Or you think...
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Or do you think all animals have the same thing? Or behave the same way? Where the men and women are...
Potentially, yeah. Because we're supposed to act in unison. We're not supposed to act the same.
Yeah.
Because our roles in nature, at least I think, up to this point, to the point where we can all live the same, I think up to this point, the roles of men and the roles of women in nature have been completely different.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I think that affects the way that they think and the way that they act.
Okay.
Both men and women.
Yeah. The earliest example I heard of was that men and since back or during hunter-gatherer times, when women were pregnant, then they had to sit back and, like wherever they were wherever they were settled or sheltered, they had to sit back and make sure that child was going to be, born well or whatever, and they couldn't go out and hunt. But I'm assuming after that they participated in the hunting as well, right? Or what reason would there be?
From my understanding, I thought women did more of the gathering and men did the hunting mainly.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's why we developed to where we're stronger than the women are.
Physically stronger.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but then in that case, women also have just as important of a purpose or whatever.
Yeah, they do.
As men.
Of course they do.
Yeah. But I'm saying in response to that guy in the video where he's saying men want to feel powerful and capable and women want to feel loved and adored, especially that loved and adored part, I don't see why there would be that difference between men and women for adoration and, I guess, love.
I don't know. I feel like respect and adoration are two different things. I don't know. I know you're trying to say men and women both feel the need to be respected and adored.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true to a certain extent.
Like it falls on a spectrum between respect and love.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was telling you in one of the episodes, I think that a lot of male depression is due to it's due to purposelessness.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's true in a lot more males than it is of females.
Yeah, and then female depression is usually due to completely different reasons.
Yeah.
I think I've definitely seen that. I don't know, but I guess my question is why, where that developed, or has it always been this way? Because I just don't see that happening a long time ago or during prehistoric times.
I don't think in prehistoric times. I think in prehistoric times that's what they got. Men got the respect. Whoever caught the biggest fish or whatever, or whoever caught the biggest woolly mammoth.
But why wouldn't the woman do that? Oh, because she was giving birth, or she had to give birth.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And she had to give birth a lot more times than we do now.
Yeah. That's an interesting theory.
It's a lot more frequent.
And then you think that might
shorter
explain
lifespan as
the
well.
changing of roles or gender roles now? You think that could explain the changing of gender roles now?
Why women are giving a lot less birth?
Yeah. So you think that could be a potential reason to why women are the gender roles are changing?
That's actually something that I've never thought about.
Yeah.
But
I just made that connection.
Yeah, no, I knew the fact, but I didn't connect it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense. Why gender roles are changing
or
now.
Part of the reason, obviously. There's probably
and now women are more work driven.
A
lot more, and you see.
I just mean their roles have changed a lot, like just in the past 100 years.
Even since
there's just been such a drastic shift.
Yeah, we were learning about the women's rights movements and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that wouldn't have happened back in the day because the rights as they are, it's not like women were inferior to men in any way until some portion of civilized society made it that way. But even in ancient civilized society, when we were learning about, I don't know about Rome specifically, but Greek, I think, and I'm not sure about some of the older Indian cultures, but men and women both had an equally important role. Their roles were just different.
Yeah.
But the respect that they got from society was the same.
Exactly, yeah.
And we've learned about it in the United States, which I do think that in the early days of the United States, maybe there was some sort of suppression where the women's roles weren't as respected as men's roles.
Yeah.
But also the thing started happening where they started giving less birth. So maybe that changed somehow some way that their brain functions.
Yeah.
And it made them more work driven and more coming into the role that the man traditionally had filled up till that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I would agree with that their roles, because I definitely acknowledge the fact that their roles have been different throughout time, but I guess the part where I just don't agree is that about power and capability and love and adoration. I feel like both of those are needed by both, or necessary for both genders. And even to the point of being on a spectrum, I don't think they're related at all. Like,
in Ghana, in modern society, there's some society in Ghana where it's something stupid. I think the men compete on who raises the biggest yams. Like, they all grow yams, and whoever has the biggest gets the most respect. The respect-based society based off how big
wasn't
their
there
yams
something
grows.
that book we read freshman year, Things We Fall Apart?
Yeah.
Wasn't there something like that? Yeah, and it was about yams. Because
was it about yams?
Yeah,
I don't remember, but yeah, there is.
It might be the same thing, honestly.
Yeah, maybe, but the society in Ghana, that specific part of Ghana is just built that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how it was for a lot of people. Yeah. I think that reflects our hunter-gatherer days more than anything else. But now it's about yams. But back then it was about which man hunted the biggest animal. I think men were constantly put in competition more with each other than women were.
Yeah. But
maybe women fell back, a bunch of them got pregnant at the same time, and they all got a chance to, deepen their friendship. So that competitiveness wasn't there.
Maybe. But if we examine that relationship, so you're saying during hunter and gatherer times, men were hunting and women were gathering. But farming, it's different than gathering, and farming is harder than, I would say, hunting and gathering. That's why that evolution came after hunter-gathering times. But farming is something that's done by women and men. It wasn't exclusive to men at any point in time. So in that case, men and women didn't have that much of a different role during agricultural times.
Yeah, but agriculture started 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Humans have been around for 200,000 years. And Homo erectus
so you think it's a slow change?
It's a very slow change.
Yeah.
10,000 years is only 5%.
Yeah.
Of how long humans have been around for.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we're starting to see a change now in modern society.
Yeah.
That 10,000 years ago thing picked up now.
Yeah. Okay.
And then 10,000 years ago.
Then whatever is happening now, or 1900s, it's going to slowly pick up in whatever future.
A way long time.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That is interesting. That's also something that I just made up.
We just thought of that.
I think genuinely some of the things that we're saying right now, it's no scientists have ever thought of before.
We're just on that level.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah.
There's no, because I've never read about this anywhere. No one ever talks about
a lot
it.
of the stuff we say, I haven't
People
heard before.
just say it, but no one really looks into what they're actually.
Yeah.
You know?
Or we examine every connection between the Balance Pod.
Yeah, I know. We're the best.
That's our branding.
Yeah. Imbalance.
Should we put that as our intro?
What?
Examining the connections.
It's ridiculous.
Between different ideas. Did you see that one guy's comment on one of the TikToks? Said bro thinks he's a thinker.
Nah.
Someone said that. Someone said that on the latest TikTok we posted.
Man, all the TikTok comments are just robots.
I know, bro. So many people are bots. The only people, I'm not gonna name drop, but the few people that have said they found the information useful.
I value their opinion.
I value their opinion. Just even before they made that, they're just, everyone knows that they're better. I guess. I don't know.
They're better in
They're
what
just
way?
better, bro. They're just better people, bro. They're just better than the rest of the robots, bro.
Well, okay. I think instead of saying they're better, I think we should say they're independent thinkers. Or they have some sense of authenticity.
And I would say that most of the people in our school community would agree that they are, I don't know, just more, I don't know how to describe it or describe him.
I'd say more authentic.
Yeah.
Or they have a level of authenticity.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't want to say brainwashed, but they're not. They don't let other things that.
They have less outside influence.
Yeah, their
that's
circumstances don't.
Yeah.
Wash off on them. They don't take away their personality.
I feel like when we're describing the other people that we're talking about, it's because outside influences have just they infiltrate their brain almost in a way, and they're just dictating what they do. You know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You think that has something to do with parenting?
No, bro. I think a huge part of it is your phone, bro. Because I think we have to come back to the topic of TikTok when we're discussing this, because, bro, the impact of TikTok, it's actually insane on how people behave. The language that TikTok uses, it's invented in TikTok within the app only.
Yeah,
it's not used anywhere else. It's not like a culture invented it or something. It's just kids on an app invented this language, and it's just deployed everywhere.
Yeah, no, we've all picked up on it.
Yeah.
Even now, sometimes when we're talking to each other in real time, even outside of the cameras and stuff.
Bro said.
Yeah, we.
I don't really say that.
I don't say bro said either.
But I hear so many people say it, bro.
Everyone in the comments always says bro said.
Yeah.
And even in class, everyone says bro said.
Yeah.
And others glazing.
Yeah.
But I think both you and I also have some struggle to maintain.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say as much as others, but I'd say we have some struggle to kind of maintain normalcy in our speech. Yeah.
I'm not saying at all we were perfect or anything, but I'm just saying that
I think the fact that we recognize that
it and we're making an effort to stop that.
Yeah. Because even if I'm trying to make my speech perfect, I'd still say or something like that.
Yeah.
It comes across in how I speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's gotten a lot better than it was 5 months ago. So
yeah. Okay. And speaking of authenticity, you know, it's not specifically authenticity, but you know, another thing I noticed, the amount of hype around musical artists, bro. And I'm saying this because Drake dropped recently.
Yeah.
And it's just insane how this is the one thing people look forward to. It's almost as if I've seen people who look forward to this more than Christmas, bro. That's insane.
You know what I've heard?
Yeah.
Why this has been happening so much?
Yeah.
This is actually something that I heard on some unnamed podcast.
Okay.
That I'll tell you about.
Yeah.
I've already mentioned it, but I don't want to say it again.
Yeah, sure.
But he was saying that when around the time of Reagan's presidency, so before this, from all the way up to 1960s, 1970s, the news was a source of complete trustworthiness. The news, it was the most it had so much integrity.
Yeah.
And we knew that the news people were people of integrity and people of character.
Yeah.
They kept everything honest. They kept it real.
Yeah.
But then, instead of allowing people to hear both sides, people started taking one side or the other. And then to get more of a competitive advantage over the other side, they started turning the news into profit centers. So instead of... It used to be about the integrity of what was being said. But now, or after that point, it started transitioning to making as much profit as possible. So what these news outlets started doing was they started reporting on singers, celebrities, all of that stuff. Like, who the fuck would care about Travis Scott and or not Travis Scott? What's her name? Taylor Swift and that Travis Kelce guy.
Yeah.
When this was mentioned in one of our classes, and people cared about it so much.
I know. I know, bro.
Like, I'm never gonna meet Taylor Swift in my life. I don't care what she does with her dating life. Yeah. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
But every news outlet reports on it. And if you look up Drake, I guarantee you all the top news sources are saying Drake dropped an album. How does it sound? How does it stack up?
Yeah, yeah. It's insane, bro. Celebrity culture. Even if you look at musical artists a while back, no one was looking at their personal lives. And while back, I mean, like while back, not 70s, 80s. No. I mean
before that.
Before that, musical artists, their personal lives, they weren't celebrities the way they are now. People listen to their music. People were familiar with their music. They critique their music and analyze their music. Because I'm saying this because of the way my mom talks about musical artists or certain Indian musical artists from a while ago. But it's just no one cared about their personal lives the way they do now. So that's insane to me, celebrity culture. But yeah.
Yeah, I think news has something to do with that, but also there's a lot of things, I think. Because I was thinking about this as you were talking. What led to American society changing so much as it has in the past 60, 70 years? And I'm remembering the time period specifically with the most changes, 60s and the hippie movement. But even before that, I think, because why did the parents of that generation, or how did they parent differently to where their kids ended up in such a radical shift?
The parents of post-World War II?
Yeah. Because if you look at all society before that, the 20s or the 1910s or the 1800s, or anything before the hippie movement and that entire culture shift and everything that happened with that, what do you think?
I mean, I'm inclined to attribute what happened in the 60s to the fall from. I would say that America reached its peak, economically speaking, in the 60s. And then after that, I think after any nation hits its peak, obviously, what happens next is the decline. And I think that decline is directly associated, or this is what I've always associated with, but I've always associated that decline directly with the culture shift that happened in the 60s.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I don't know if it's that, because...
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking it's after we stopped having big military guys be president. But then I was like, why did big military guys stop trying to run for president?
That's the same way I thought. I was thinking, what caused America's economy to stop accelerating and slow down?
Yeah. What exactly was it? What was the factor that changed it all?
Okay. The economic model I've always believed in, I was talking to my dad about this, but Keynesian economics, I believe, worked way better than modern monetary theory because it focused on real physical things. Because when Nixon removed the gold standard, the American dollar became, what is it, right? The dollar is nothing. It's just, you can print it. So what modern monetary theorists believe is that by adjusting the money supply, right, you can fix all economic issues. Except if you think about this on a... Let me make sure.
All right. Good.
All right. So what I was saying was, you asked why you think America started peaking in its economy and why its economic growth wasn't accelerating or stopped accelerating. And the reason I said was because I think that the shift from Keynesian economics to modern monetary theory has especially fucked up the economy, because if you think about it, so I said that...
watch your language.
Yeah, my bad. So
we can't market this to kids anymore.
Yeah.
That means the amount of money we make per view is going to be lower. You bum.
Alright, bro, my bad. But the what I was saying was modern monetary theory believes in adjusting the money supply so to solve economic issues. But the reason that's a problem is because money supply or money isn't real anymore, because Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, which means the dollar's backed by nothing. It's just something that you print. So if you think about this from just a logical standpoint, how can you solve real economic issues by adjusting something that doesn't even exist? It doesn't make sense. The Keynesian model was to increase aggregate demand through government spending to solve economic issues. And that's something real, because when you adjust demand, then real things are happening in the economy. Real things are being purchased and real things are being manufactured. So that's why I think that America's economy peaked and stopped accelerating, because our approach to economics was just completely wrong after that point.
Sure. Nixon was he was in the late 60s to the early 70s, right? Right. So you're saying that's the time that the growth rate of the economy just started slowing down drastically.
Exactly. That's when I think the growth rate of the economy is accelerating, or I think at that point was when the growth rate of the economy started going down. But now is when it's going down the fastest, because if you can think about most nations as a slope like this. Mm-hmm. So 60s, 70s, we were here and we were coming down. Now we're just crashing down faster. Is what I believe.
Yeah. You think there's anything the country could do, or it's just a natural cycle?
I think at this point, it's inevitable. From an idealistic standpoint, you could do something. Manufacturing, like I said, the power of manufacturing is insane. Because look at what it did to China's economy. It completely made it boom. So when you produce real things, and then you sell those real things, it is so beneficial for an economy. And we need to bring that kind of idealistically, you could do this and solve the economy's problems. But unidealistically, if we're looking at the condition or all the factors in America right now, I think the fall of America from its first place in the economic model or worldwide standings is inevitable.
That's true. But also, I feel like manufacturing jobs as well can't be done quite as easily, because the pay for those and the demand for those, or the demand might be the same as ever, or even higher than ever, but the pay for those and the social respect for those is so low comparatively.
Yeah. But why do you think the pay for those became so low?
Because we stopped doing it?
Yeah, because we shifted away from that.
But blue collar work as a whole is not too well looked upon in society.
Exactly, but
it's a lot of immigrants, and all these immigrants, they're not making much. They're making under minimum wage because they're undocumented.
Yeah, but the reason blue collar work lost its respect and the wage gap became so big was because of exactly what I'm saying. Because I'm going to take a recent example, but this has been happening for a long time, just smaller versions of this. But the most dramatic example of this was in 2008, when the big banks were selling derivatives. What are financial derivatives? They're nothing. It's nothing real. They're just making money off of nothing. And that increased. So if these people who are selling nothing are making so much money, then all the jobs in that office are also going to be making more money. So when you incentivize selling nothing, then obviously when you're actually selling something, it's just going to fall off. So I think the reason even blue collar work is not appreciated as much or doesn't make as much is because of the fact of modern monetary theory.
That makes sense. I mean, what I was thinking while you were explaining that, do you think the development of AI could actually be a good thing for this?
In terms of for manufacturing?
Manufacturing.
Yeah.
Because either I think all the human labor can just be replaced by machines. But then also in the things that machines can't do. I think machines can take over most jobs that you can get with a degree. And I think that the jobs that people are going to flock towards are going to be creative stuff like a podcast or blue collar work.
Mm-hmm.
Because who trusts AI with, or I mean, I'm sure the trust factor will establish, but one of our English teachers was saying that a lot of blue collar work might end up worth learning for this generation more than any other up to this point.
Yeah. I haven't thought about it that much, but now that you mention it, I think that could be a thing. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like AI is going to transform our economy. While I want to assume that everything is cyclical and abides by patterns and that we should be able to predict what's going to happen next, it's so difficult to do. So, I don't know. I'm not sure how AI is going to affect the economy, but it does make sense that blue-collar work would be more valuable because white-collar jobs would just be...
They lose their value.
Yeah.
If there's a sales bot that can do every single thing
Mm-hmm.
that any salesperson could do, it looks at every single sales call in the entire world,
Mm-hmm.
or that's ever been recorded.
Yeah.
And it just copies and says the prompts to
Yeah.
the best fit that it can.
The ones that work.
Yeah. The experience that AI has had, that robot has had more experience than any other salesperson in history.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately the best salesperson.
While loops. No,
What the fuck?
it might be a connection. I'm just
No,
saying.
but and even if you're looking at, I mean, tech, for example, while loops, a robot that knows every single programming language, that knows every single loophole,
Yeah.
it doesn't forget anything,
Yeah.
it doesn't burn out, it can just keep going 24/7 nonstop.
Exactly.
Why would there be need for any person after that?
Yeah. Maybe it'll be a dramatic change for the economy. But I think before AI...
And also, we have a significant employment shortage,
Mm-hmm.
or a need for more employment,
Mm-hmm.
or we have jobs that we want people to fill, but they're not filling it, or we don't have the people to fill those jobs. And I think once AI becomes a mainstream thing, that gap will be taken care of. So some smaller companies will become bigger companies because of it.
Yeah. I think before that happens, before AI becomes so as big as what you're saying will happen, that I think at that point America will have already lost its spot as the number one economy in the world, because China is expected to overtake America's economy by 20
in this decade.
So do you think AI will get that big before this decade ends? So
Potentially. I don't know. I feel like America can always find some way to pull back through, because I think education in most of the other countries,
mm-hmm.
or I don't know about education specifically, but I think values and whatnot, some sort of culture difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were talking about this in the David podcast. I don't think China or India or whatnot can make the next Bill Gates.
They could. I think the culture is changing so much. Look at the recent things in India that have been going on, like such as Flipkart or Zomato. These are all...
But that's just people copying off American designs.
But that's how it starts. But I'm saying Bill Gates was when? 1990. That was well after America's economy reached its peak.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to take a while, but we'll start innovating once we become the best. So I guess what I'm trying to say is these changes are just going to happen, and it's not something that's specific to our time. It's a well-proven pattern that occurs throughout time. And if you really want to talk about a larger pattern that I've noticed, look at how powerful throughout history, if you examine history, India and China have been the societies that have been the most successful for the longest periods of time. And then in shorter periods, you have other societies that dominate for a little bit, but then slowly it just falls back to centuries of Indian and Chinese dominance. And the reason that sticks out to me is population. There's just no other reason that I think that's common between these two countries that causes that kind of success. So I think just due to how old these civilizations are, we have more people there. And I think ultimately it's wherever most people are located that will be most successful.
That makes sense. But, I mean, we're
Human
talking about
labor,
success as a country, but what about individual success?
With like specific, as in
with people.
Yeah.
David was saying the housing market was getting so expensive in China, or in the city parts of China.
Mm-hmm.
What about the housing and the land being more valuable in China can be seen as a good thing for the whole country, but it can't be seen as a good thing for the people that are trying to buy the land.
It's not a good thing for the country either. I mean,
why? The land, that means the country is becoming more valuable.
The land there is becoming more valuable, but then that results in it'll just become, because look at Dubai or some place like that. It's just going to become, I think, whatever those cities are, it's just going to become places like that. Because again, China is reaching its peak economically. So I would say that this is a bad thing. What's happening? Like land prices going up way too much and people not being able to afford it. You know, the people are what's at the core of an economy.
Yeah. And
if they can't have affordable rent, then the economy is going to fall apart. Again,
So you think because there's so many people there, that you'll find some way to offset that, or they'll find some way to offset that?
From a really big historical standpoint,
yeah.
I think that Chinese and Indian dominance is inevitable, just because human labor is so valuable, and without it, you can't.
Yeah, but then my point is that what if AI?
Yeah. Okay, but in that case, we would have to consider that AI is really this next big thing, because then we have to zoom out even more.
I think AI is going to be, in terms of the long-term impact it has, it's going to be way more influential than phones or the internet.
Exactly.
It fundamentally changes the way our society should work.
Then the closest comparison would be agriculture.
Sure, yeah.
Because agriculture was when India and China became dominant because it flourished their populations. So in that case, yeah, we'd have to compare AI to an agricultural revolution. And then in that scenario, we can't even predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, true.
It's just that big.
Yeah.
Because of its scale.
You know why I smiled?
Why?
I smiled because I thought that would be a great short.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But you're right. I've never heard someone compare AI to the agricultural revolution. But yeah. I think that's the most similar thing that you can think of.
Yeah. You think that's a good place to end?
You think?
Yeah.
All this time and it's still shorter than the UJ episode?
Compare AI to the agricultural revolution?
Alright, whatever. Good conversation.
Yeah.
How did we end up from talking about Russian Sambo to this?
iPhone storage full. That's perfect.
Oh man.